All right, here we are back at the Houston Camera Exchange with Photographic Therapy for round two here with my brother Dom.
Yes, sir.
We basically had everything was good with our first time we filmed, but obviously my audio kept on cutting in and out, so we're having to retake this one more time. But I think it's gonna be better this time,
Second time's a charm. Yep.
Yeah, it is, and also too, we got a different little setup, thanks to Tony and the production team. It's a vibe in here now. It's not so like the fluorescent lights or anything like that. So we're just trying to go for something a little bit different. But man, Dom, thank you so much for coming hanging out with us this morning, bro. I got so much respect for you. Not just as a friend, but also too as a photographer and an individual. I don't think I've ever had like a bad experience with you and your friendship. But man, if you don't know Dom, you go by what do you go by on Instagram?
Dom's Carter on Instagram. Yeah.
And your website is
domscarter.com. Yeah.
yeah. To me, some people are gonna get mad about for what I'm about to say. To me, Dom's is still my favorite street photographer in Houston. Every time when I came across his work, I was just like, man, this guy. I really love his work, and I'm really grateful that I met him. We're gonna get a little bit more into how we met and all that cool stuff, but man, how you been?
Been good, man. Just staying busy, working, trying to shoot as much as I can, trying to stay productive always. So just happy to be here. So yeah, just
Cool.
chilling.
Life is treating you good,
Yeah, man. No complaints. Family's good. Friends are good. Work's great. So yeah.
and obviously you're still shooting. You're pretty active still, huh?
I try to be, man. Yeah, like I just try to stay motivated and try to stay inspired. I don't know. You just have that itchy feeling you always want to create, and I'm just kind of chasing that all the time. So that's just where I am. Yeah.
And right now, as we're speaking, it's like if you're into classic street, and me and Don were just saying, like it's a perfect time to go shoot downtown right now.
Absolutely. At
Yeah.
this very moment, it's like raining and it's foggy, and that's like some of my favorite weather conditions to shoot street. And it's like I was like on my way here driving through downtown, and I was like, oh man, it looks so beautiful right now.
Low key, I
Yeah,
wanted to just pull over and be like, it's just like, yo, let's go shoot instead, man.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But
So
we have this really cool platform here with the Houston Camera Exchange. Invite people from the community so people can get to know like who our community is, man. Because believe it or not, you've made an impact on our community. You obviously with the crew that you guys were rolling with the We Own the Night guys and even many more, not just them, but like there were so many street photographers that from when you started, you guys inspired so many of us.
yeah, that's dope, and I really, really appreciate that. I think I was inspired by like the people I saw here, like J Bun, Infi, Damien, Bazillions. Like those guys were the first ones that I saw on Instagram on that were from Houston that was doing a lot of street stuff, and I thought like, wow, it's possible to actually do it here. Because I
Yeah.
would see photos from New York and Chicago, a lot of dope street photography, but when I saw their work and saw how they were capturing downtown, I was like, okay, so it's possible here.
Yeah, because and we'll get a little bit more into the street photography topic, but like, yeah, that's kind of what happened to me. I came across Infi and Jay Bun's work first, and then through their work, that's how I actually discovered yours and stuff like that. But man, how did you get started in photography?
Yeah, so what I was doing at the time, I was in school. I was going to UHD, so I was really close to downtown, and I was like going to school, working a lot, and I just needed something to do to get my mind off of everything that I was doing, just a day to day grind. And I was always into filmmaking, photography, just kind of into cameras in general. So I bought a camera and I started to explore the city. I started going to car meets also and taking photos. And after a while, I just got really addicted to that process of going out, exploring, shooting, editing, and posting it online. And I just been chasing that like creative feeling ever since. So it's just like a really cool hobby and something meditative I've been doing ever since college. So it's been fun.
Cool. How long you been shooting for now?
Damn. So now it's been about 5 years, almost 6 years. So yeah, it's been some time. But yeah, time flies while doing it. So
Man, that's what's up, bro. But and then what initially like got you into like street photography, you know?
yeah, I don't know. I think when I really started like researching photography online, not just in social media, I found like Vivian Myer's work in the beginning, and then I don't know, it just struck me. There's something really honest and raw about street photography that I just love so much that it's just you just go out, explore, and you're just kind of waiting for moments to happen, and you're just looking for moments to happen. And there's something really honest about that it just kind of attracted me to it.
Yeah, man, believe it or not, a lot you taught me so much without even saying a single word, just by, allowing me to come and hang out and being able to learn from you. Like, I think I always like to say this. I think Classic Street taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And like whether if you're getting to like weddings or portraits or and I obviously there's those real cool creative portraits that I actually don't know how to take. You're into that now, huh? Like
Yeah, I
yeah,
love portraiture. Sure.
yeah.
I just recently started getting into portrait photography like the past year and a half.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right about like Classic Street teaching you. It taught me a lot too. I think it just teaches you how to view the world and how to observe people and just how to understand composition, lighting, framing, all these things. And so you take everything you learn from street and just apply it to everything else.
Even on the technical aspect, because some of the things that you guys were teaching me, like, hey, like for example, we were shooting a lot at nighttime,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We were for that golden hour into night photography,
Hmm.
and that's how obviously the We Own the Night crew started. And you
Yep.
guys did so much, for our city in that realm. But I think being able to learn such a hard style of photography like that kind of like polishes you
That's
to
true.
understand like the technical part of photography, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think shooting at night is probably one of the hardest things to do because there's a lack of light. So you're forcing yourself to find good sources of light, and also like if you want to do long exposures, that's a whole nother thing too.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of that also.
Unless
But
you're doing that Rolling Stone with flash look, but not a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
us weren't doing that. You know what I
Nah,
mean?
we
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
literally just trying to find like uh I wouldn't say natural, but just trying to find the best sources of light and color that we could find in the city at nighttime and just using that as best as we
Yeah.
could. So
That was like one of the best advices I had. Just find a light,
mhm.
find a light. And it was very interesting in how, I was able to learn some of that stuff. But man, I wanted to ask you, like, what's your approach to photography? Like, I know that might have changed completely in the seasons, but what do you think is, what's your big approach on how, when you're shooting?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think in general, especially now, it's more of if there's like a story I could tell or an emotion I can invoke or an idea I can express, I just kind of
Mhm.
start from there and I just figure out how I want to, express that photographically. And that can mean in different things. If I see a cool location, I like take it down in my notes. I can come back and take a photo of that or do a portrait shoot there. So it's just more of just if I see something and I get an idea from the thing or the person or I hear a song or it could be anything, I try to express that like photographically. So
Is there anything that you say that it actually inspires you, or for example, is there maybe a certain photographer or a certain movie, or do you like what inspires you really to like pick up that camera?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's everything, bro. Like I said, I listen to a song. There's photographers I see on Instagram that's really inspiring. There's, the classic ones like Fan Ho, Gregory Crutzen. Those are my two favorite
yeah.
all time photographers. But it's just a mixture of things. It could be just life in general. I could be driving around and then I see the way the light hits like a tree or something.
The
I don't know.
shadows and the
Yeah,
highlights.
it could just be anything. I just get inspired by life in general and I just get ideas from there. So yeah.
Yeah, man. I think like it doesn't always have to be like a movie or a photographer. Like for me, music a lot.
Music's
It
yeah.
depends on what mood. Or if I like to what I of course, well, we're always lurking or cruising around or just scouting. Just really just I like to cruise a lot. And even before photography, that was always a thing with me and my cousin. Being into the car scene, and it was always really cool to see something that maybe attracted your eye. You would pull out your razor phone
Mm-hmm.
or a
Yep.
sidekick back in the day or whatever it was you had to photograph, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that man, that's dope. It's cool that it's not like just one avenue that inspires you into your photography.
Yeah, I think it's just,
Yeah.
life in general, right? Everything that we have access to in our senses, it just inspires me in general. So, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I have a very important question. Why do you photograph?
Why?
Yeah, I've been asking myself this question, like, why do I actually pick up this camera? Like, why do I actually photograph?
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I think I don't know. I think in the beginning it was curiosity. It was just you would see other people doing it and you're like, wow, that's really cool. I want to try it for myself and see what I can do. So in the beginning was curiosity. Now it's just like understanding and freedom of expression. I think what photography has done for me is it allowed me to learn about myself a lot more
Yeah.
by trying to figure out the world. And, I think especially as a street photographer, you just, like I said, you're just sitting and observing. So I just learned a lot about just the world and how people interact with each other. So I think now the reason why is just trying to continue to understand myself and understand the world and make sense of it all in different ways. So that's the reason why I
Do
do
you
it.
feel like you're gonna be shooting for like the rest of your life till like your last breath?
Yeah, I think so. I think because there's been times, and I know that's like the answer is yes because there's been times where it's hard, or I'm like burnt out, or I'm tired, or unmotivated. But
Yeah, we all get there, you know.
there's still like that feeling like I still want to do it. So that's why I know like okay, like I'm never gonna stop doing this.
And especially, I feel like our journey, like, you know, especially when you guys, at least when I first met you, we were shooting like every single day,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
lights out. And now I probably shoot like twice a week. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
hmm
Even though you slow down, doesn't mean you've lost your passion.
yeah,
It's
for
just
sure.
you might be in a different season and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
that, and I think it's also with your skill. I think in the beginning, like I think we were shooting so much that we were like learning and trying to
yeah,
learn off of each other, teach each other things, and just learn the craft. But I think once you have like a good like hone of your craft, you don't have to shoot as much. Like now, like when I do my photo shoots, for example, I shoot for like 30 minutes to an hour, and I'm good because in my mind I know what I want the photos to come out, and I know how to execute on that now. So I
yeah.
don't need that much time anymore. So.
Is there anything that you're doing prepping? Like, what does that look like? Hey, I'm preparing, you know, for a photo shoot because you obviously, you know, you a lot of people know you for your street and cityscapes, but also too, you take some amazing portraits, and you could take professional work. Like for anybody, you've done weddings,
Mhm.
like you've gone into different avenues, right?
Yeah,
But
for
what
sure.
does that look like? Like preparing, is it different for every scenario,
Oh yeah,
or
for sure. I think and I think that's part of the fun with like portrait stuff is because for me, I always start with the location first. Location's like very important to me
yeah?
because I think the location in the background plays a big part into the story or the whatever emotion you're trying to convey. And it's like the way I always think about it is a good background or a good location is unnoticed, but a bad background is noticed.
Yeah,
So it's like a good location becomes a part of the frame or a part of the photo. So location scouting is really big for me
it's
for sure.
part of the story that you're kind of trying to tell
Yeah.
too, right? Because it's
Mhm.
not just like I don't feel like when I look at your portraits, they're nice, they're dreamy, they're warm, but also too, I like the story that you're telling in them,
Yeah,
which
I
is really
appreciate that.
cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that, man. Yeah, I think that's what's
yeah,
fun. Is just figuring out, like the location, the idea, the outfit. Like once I found the model that wants to shoot, we talk about the outfit and the colors and stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of prep that goes into doing portraits versus street. Because with street, you can just go out, take your camera, and you're just free to do whatever you
I
want.
know,
So
right? Yeah, and depending on what time of day it is, it's just cool, man. Honestly, I wish I was shooting right about now.
I feel you, bro. Yeah,
That is, if you have to understand, from Houston, you know, we always had this conversation. If you can shoot classic street in H Town, we got respect for you
facts.
because it's not New York, it's not Chicago.
No,
And during this time right now, if you look at the skyline, it looks majestic, and just at least to me, in my
it does,
opinion,
bro.
you
Yeah,
know.
I agree with you. Yeah.
But man, what is street photography still your first love?
I
Like,
think so. Yeah, I
yeah,
think that's where it started for me. Like I said, it was like at the time when I was in school, I was just so busy, and I would carve out like I always told myself, all right, at least one day every week or 2 days a week, I'll go out and shoot. And so I just had the freedom to just go out with my camera and take pictures. So I think street photography is still going to be like the number one for me because it's just that raw going out and just capturing those
have you
real
been
life
shooting in
moments.
some street lately, or
Not as
are you
much.
gonna get back into it? Like
A little bit. Like
next
I
after the year?
try. Like you know how it is, bro. Like I think for me, it's really bad because I've traveled. Like thankfully, I've been able to travel a lot lately, and so I travel. I've been to Chicago a few times, New York, obviously. Been to Europe. Been to Panama. Been to Mexico. So I've been to these places, and I shoot street there. And like, there's definitely more people in like the city areas. There's an
Yeah.
energy. There's like a different vibe versus here. It's like very quiet, very dull. There's not a lot of people in the city. So when I come back here from those places, I get kind of like jaded, like, man, like,
Yeah,
you know
I
what I mean?
bet. It's
So
different
I
too.
try to like
Yeah.
still, find that inspiration
You got a
regardless.
special connection with Panama because
Yeah, that's where I'm from.
yeah,
Yeah. So my family's from there. I was born there. I moved here when I was about 5. So this past January, I was there for a month. I stayed with my dad. And so I was able to
that's what's up, bro.
shoot street, shoot
Yeah.
portrait stuff, connect with a lot of creatives there. It was really fun.
I'm trying to do some of that next year, man. Go to my parents' country and connect with them and be able to document that stuff out there.
Yeah, for sure.
One of my favorite photos of that you're taking is in Chicago.
Mm.
It's where that gentleman's in the subway and he's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
that played out suit. Like, so if we like compare, like I know you said, man, you got to go to Chicago. Like, what inspires you about that city?
I don't know. And it's funny because that photo is one of my favorites too. And that was the very first time I was in Chicago. And I just remember like I was with it was me,
It's
Jeff.
such a good print. Y'all go buy that photo from him,
Yeah, it's on
dude.
my
It's
website.
so good.
Yeah, I was there with it was me, Jeff, Ray, and then Juan and Christian. So we were there. That was my first time there. And I remember getting off the subway and I saw the guy and he was just dressed up so nice. And I was like, "All right, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna follow him and see what he does." And he just like posted up on the wall and he had a cigar and I was like, "This is too good."
Yeah.
So I just took the photo. But I don't know. I think Chicago has this very like historic classic feel to it. And especially with the subway and metro line, the way it's set up. It's like underground, it's also up top,
I
which
heard
is
the
really cool.
architecture is
The
beautiful. Some of the
architecture is
best in the
amazing.
US. I
Yeah,
heard.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it has like a certain energy. It's really busy. So yeah, it's dope. It's just super classic. So yeah,
Yeah, man, I need to go visit Chicago for sure.
yeah.
Man, I think one of the other questions is there someone like specifically? I know you mentioned
Fan
Van
Fan Hell,
Ha.
yeah, Fan Hell,
I
yeah,
know, and you had put me onto his work. You put me onto Vivian Myer. This is why I cherish like your friendship so much because there was so much education, and I'm still like I've only been shooting for right about 4.5 years, but anytime you've been able to share like a certain photographer with me, I feel like you're educating me, and it's really I think that's really powerful because I'm still so new to photography,
mm,
and I think but is there like anybody else other than Vivian Myer and Found How that inspire you? Like,
yeah.
have you been buying any books lately or anything like that? Or
Yeah, so I mentioned him before, but Gregory Crutzen, he's one of my all-time favorites too, just because of his cinematic set pieces that he
oh
sets up.
yeah,
He literally will like set up a whole movie set just to take one photo, which is insane.
yeah.
And he shoots on large format. So I just have so much respect for him because of the level of preparation he goes through just to take a photo. And yeah, the lighting, the colors, everything that he does to put together that one photo is amazing. And like the storytelling is crazy. So
You think you're
yeah.
gonna get into some stuff like
I
that?
would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I talked to like the homies about. Like that would be super cool to like find a spot and just like really go all out for one
Yeah, dude, you
picture.
could probably tell Tony too. Set up a
Yeah.
whole production movie set because
Yeah.
it's cool how he does it.
Mhm.
It's like it's almost like he's getting ready to film a movie,
I
but
know.
he's actually taking a
He's just
photo.
taking a picture.
Yeah,
It's
and you
like
look at it,
what?
and it's just like I know this word is like really popular right now, cinematic,
Yeah, I try
right?
not to, but
Yeah.
it's hard. It's like that's the best word to
How do you
use. Like,
describe
how do
it?
you describe that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
feeling? But
It's incredible. It just looks like something out of a really awesome movie. You know what
yeah,
I
I
mean?
love his work. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
definitely one of my like top five for sure.
That's
Yeah,
what's up, man. Man, are you into like books or anything like that?
like photo books.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I have a couple. I have like two of Gregory's photo books. I have that one Vivian Myer book.
yeah,
I also just buy books from like photographers I see on Instagram. I love photo books. I
yeah. Me
think it's
too. I
just
like supporting the like
yeah.
our modern photographers
Hmm.
now. Yeah,
Yeah, so if there's
yeah,
a photographer out there that sells a book and I like their work, I'll buy it because I just love like having it in my hand, flipping through. It's a different experience instead of just like scrolling on like social media.
yeah. That's my
But
favorite thing about photography: the tangibleness, like being
yeah,
able to hold a print. Or buying a book and being able to like study that, or even yourself, like when someone asks, "Hey, I like to buy that photo for you. Can you print for me?" I think that's actually really cool.
hmm
But when you see your photo, I'm like, dang, they actually took that photo. That's really
I
cool.
know. Yeah, it's a different experience. Like
Yeah.
even like when we walked in here, all these like beautiful prints on the wall. It's just like it just strikes you differently when you see it like in real life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, one of the biggest things I heard from Steven Vanesco, one of my favorite photographers, is
he's
from Los
fire.
Angeles. Yeah, man, he's an OG, and he said like your work is meant to live beyond social media. Like it
Hmm.
needs to live on a website, it needs to live on a print, it needs to live whatever it is, like through a brand or a collaborative. It really does. Like because sometimes, especially right now, where social media is like Instagram was very photo centric. Now it's actually more for like the creators. So your
Hmm.
content, and I hate to use that word, but your photos can actually like get lost within all this content
Yeah.
so fast,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so I think like you're, having like a website and being able to do prints, I think that's really important because that way your work is living in somebody's space other than, social media,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, especially Instagram, it's an interesting place. I think what is going to put photographers in a place where you have to decide what you want your work to be and where you want it to live and what you want to do with photography. Because like now Instagram like is mostly reels, so you
Yeah.
could do that
It
if you
is.
want, but if you don't, which is where I am, I really don't want to do that
Yeah, I really
personally.
don't.
Like it
Yeah.
depends. Like for me, I'll do it if it feels right. If it's really the format I want to like convey my art or my story or whatever. But I think it's like I'm not going to do it if I feel forced. So I think you have to
Right.
really think about how you want your work to be presented. So
Yeah, these tools are great, but I feel like it shouldn't be forced because
yeah.
it's weird. It's weird how, and I get it. Like if I was a business,
Hmm.
I would be on it creating reels every day.
Yeah,
But
for
since I'm
sure.
an individual, and it's not that I don't care what people think of me. Like I'm actually
Hmm.
doing these photos for myself,
Hmm.
and I'll share them. I don't have to share them at 9 a.m. to get the most traffic. I'll share them whenever I want to at
Yeah, yeah,
midnight or whatever.
yeah.
So I don't really like to go. I've always been, even before photography, I've always been kind of like against the wave. So just kind of do my own thing the way I wanted to do. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, and it's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always been like that way too. I think in the beginning too, I remember people were always like, "Oh, find your niche and then stick to that one thing." For me, it was like, I don't know. I just like fully expressing myself with this. So I'll like do portraits, I'll do streets, I'll do rooftops, I'll do,
Yeah.
I was doing like that headless street thing for a
Oh
while.
yeah, that
Like
was cool. Yeah.
I'll just do
Yeah.
whatever because I just want to try something. I don't want to box
Oh,
myself in.
one of the ways we started linking is we actually started kind of like, I remember, I think you had started getting into 35 millimeter in film.
Yep.
Have you been shooting any film lately?
Not as
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yeah, during that time, because I think that was during like when COVID just started to
yeah.
kick off,
That's
and
when me and you actually kind of like really
yeah,
kicked it
that's when we
off
really like
because we were
clicked.
trying to learn like how to
Yeah,
shoot film.
dude. Because I remember like COVID happened. Obviously, the street was completely dead. No one was going into work in the office anymore, and so I was like, I still want to shoot something, and so
Yeah,
we started driving around the city, finding old like classic cars just abandoned on the road and stuff. And
yeah.
yeah, I started getting into heavy
Before
film.
the popular film photography meme where they see that,
Yeah. When you
yeah,
see like a classic abandoned car on the side of the road. But
yeah,
yeah, and that's when we really connected. We would like just drive around for like hours and just listen to music and find like cars and stuff and just shoot
yeah.
it. So it was really cool.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I think are you gonna man, I think some of your film work is fire, bro. And I think you should
Appreciate that.
definitely try to get back into it. One of the last questions I want to ask you, and we'll close it out here because I know we're getting close to the time. But I always like to ask myself this question. I was like, dang, what if I only had one lens for the rest of my life? Like what are you shooting with?
35 millimeter, no
Yeah.
hesitation.
Why? Why do you like the 35 so
I don't know.
much?
I think it's just so versatile. Like I've been able to shoot everything with that lens, and I shoot with the primarily with the 35 Sigma 1.4
Yeah.
on my EOS R. And so I don't know. I think I've shot portraits with it. I've shot street. I've shot like urbex stuff with it, rooftops, and I just think it's like a versatile lens. Like I don't really need to take it off most of the time. It's just stuck on my camera. So
Yeah, I think if I was gonna be stuck for the rest of my life with one, and I don't want to call it stuck. I'm just like I know for sure it's a for sure thing. I'm like, yeah, give me a 35 all day long,
yeah, dude.
and I can shoot anything.
I think
Yeah,
that's how I roll now. Like I'll literally just go out because one thing I have been doing recently is I don't really take all my gear with me anymore.
yeah, that's
I'll just
good.
take my camera and that lens, and I'm good. And I
Yeah,
just walk out the
I remember that
house.
first year. I thought I was so cool walking around with my low pro backpack with all my
Yeah,
gear.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and I was like,
having that gear is good depending on what you're doing, right? But on days
right.
I'm just like going out to shoot, I'll just take my 35 and I'm good. I
That's all
don't
you
need
need is a
anything else.
35 millimeter in your life, bro. I
Yeah,
mean,
so chilling.
it's so good. Also, too, I think because it draws us, it's so equivalent to the naked eye, right?
Yep.
So I think it's so versatile for anything. But man, yeah, I think I think it's really important, man, to really have these conversations. And I appreciate you coming out, Dom. You're to me, you're an incredibly inspiring photographer, but also
Appreciate that, bro.
to a friend. And man, you've done so much, man. I know you said you go by Dom's Carter on Instagram
Mhm.
and Twitter. Are you on Twitter still?
Yeah, so
Or?
my Twitter's up, but I don't have the app anymore. It's called
Okay.
X now, I think.
Oh, is that? Yeah, I forget that
Yeah,
it's called something else.
yeah. So I don't really use Twitter anymore. I'm
And then
mostly just on
and
Instagram.
then your website,
Yeah,
so
domscarter.com.
they can find you there.
Mhm.
And then you got a little YouTube channel going on as well
A
too,
little
right?
bit. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like started it and I fell off of it. That's another thing too. I was like struggling with the reason why I was doing it, right?
yeah.
And so I kind of fell into like, I don't really want to do this as much. I'll do it every now and again if I really want to get back into it, but I'm just really focused on like photography and other things I want to get into.
That's
So
good. Got any upcoming projects or anywhere you're traveling before the year's over or
yeah.
anything that you?
So I was telling even Tony, like I want to start getting into filmmaking too. So I'm looking into getting into that also.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so that's like the
That'll be
next
interesting.
thing. Yeah, that's the next thing I'm trying to like learn and get into. But traveling, I'm going to Taiwan with Jeff,
Oh, that's awesome.
Ray, his girlfriend, Hidalgo, and his sister at the end of the year before New Year's. So it's gonna be fun. We're gonna be out there. We're going to Taiwan and then Hong Kong for a few days.
Bro, that's
So
gonna
I'm
be.
like super
Oh, I
excited.
can't wait to
Yeah.
see those photos, man.
Yeah, I've been wanting to go to Hong Kong forever, so I'm super
That's
hyped on
dope.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, bro, man, I appreciate you coming out here on with us and basically kicking it with us.
of course.
But man, we want to shout out, obviously Rode for sponsoring us and Fujifilm, and of course, our local shop here where I work at the Houston Camera Exchange. Come shop with us. You can find us at HoustonCameraExchange.com on Facebook. You can find us as well too at Houston.camera.exchange on Instagram. Come and hang out with us, especially as the holidays get here. And hopefully we'll be able to share this podcast with y'all soon. But peace.
Peace out. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and come visit us at the Houston Camera Exchange, 5900 Richmond Avenue.